I came here to Białowieża because I do research on ticks and host-parasite relations between animals and ticks. Ticks, they are parasites, basically like mosquitoes, right? But we don't really care much about mosquitoes in Europe because they don't transmit diseases. But here in Europe, ticks do transmit diseases and with potentially can become very sick or even die.
So before heading to Białowieża Forest, how I can prepare to not collect ticks on myself?
Well, there's a number of things you can do. First of all, you can wear long sleeve clothing, you can wear long trousers, and you can wear a long shirt. You can also put your trousers into your socks. That will reduce the number of tick bites. And you can also use insect spray. But regardless of any of the methods that you use, the most important thing is to always check yourself when you're back from the forest, because the risk is never zero.
So where are we now?
Now we are in the strict reserve of the Białowieża Forest. So this is a strictly protected area with intact nature. So there is no form of management at all. There is no hunting going on, no wildlife management, and nature is as pure and as intact as it can be.
Should we be already afraid that we can catch some ticks here?
Well, ticks are everywhere. We are on the path now, so on the middle of the path it's okay. But later when we go off the path, there is a high chance that we will find some ticks.
Well, so where you can find ticks?
Well, ticks in the forest are pretty much everywhere, but they don't fall from the trees, they are in the vegetation on the ground.
So where are we going now?
We're going to the right here. So right here we are at one of 60 points I have throughout the strict reserve. I come here 3 times a year in spring, summer and autumn, and I see which ticks I can find here. I'm using a method which is called flag dragging. It's a fairly standard method used to collect ticks. And what we do is basically we take a flag of 1 square meter of white cloth. I use flannel, and I slowly drag it over the forest floor. And all the ticks that are present there, they will mistake the contact and the movement. They will think it's an animal that's passing by, so they will grab onto the flag. Ticks have 3 different life stages. They can be larvae, nymphs, or adults. And each of these stages look for a different animal to parasitize.
How many ticks you collected right now?
Right now we collected 8 nymphs. There were a bunch of larvae in the flag as well, but I'm not really checking these because generally they don't carry diseases. Only the nymphs are carrying the disease and the adults. But the nymphs are actually the most dangerous for Borrelia because they are so small, so they're the most likely to bite you and stay unnoticed for long enough to infect you. Whereas adults, there are fewer of them, but if they bite you, you are much more likely to notice them more quickly. And at the same time, I want to see how many animals are here. So how much food there is for the ticks. And that will help me determine how good of an area it is for ticks to survive. Deer, right there. Ticks really need deer in order to multiply themselves on a larger scale. And if you have a lot of deer in an area, that's a lot of food for the ticks, so you will have a lot more ticks. However, you will have a lower, what we call prevalence of Borrelia within those ticks. Now, how that exactly works, we're not really sure, but we know that when a tick is infected with Borrelia, which causes Lyme disease, parasitizes a deer, it will not infect the deer. Even more, the deer will actually purify or disinfect the tick from Borrelia. So when the tick falls off, it is no longer containing the pathogen, and it can no longer infect another animal. What you've also seen me do is that I'm recording the temperature and the humidity here on site. Ticks are very sensitive to humidity. Ticks cannot drink water, so they are actually absorbing moisture from the air. So if it gets too dry for them, they will stop their activity and wait until it gets wet enough. And the reason why I'm doing it on the ground is because that's where the ticks are. So I need to record the humidity and the temperature, which is determined for their activity patterns, right there on the ground where they are. Ticks are active in all seasons of the year with the exception of the winter. although even when there is no snow, now we increasingly see that ticks can also be active there, except if, of course, it's way too dry. But otherwise, in all weather conditions, also day or night, you are at risk of being bitten by a tick. The main topic of my research is the interaction between wolves and ticks, and I want to find out if wolves in the landscape have an effect on the number of ticks and also where they are in the landscape, so which influences the risk of you becoming bitten by a tick. And secondly, I want to see what the effect is of wolves on the presence of Borrelia, which causes Lyme disease, in those ticks. So that's the risk of you becoming sick after getting bitten by a tick. So it can be very beneficial for society, again in Europe, because in a lot of places in Europe, wolves have been extinct for centuries. But now, wolves are recolonizing areas where they were gone before. And with the results that we find in this study here, we may be able to predict when wolves arrive in a new area and they colonize that area, what that gives as an effect on the disease risk for people, for pets, and for also livestock. So far, we just finished the collecting of the ticks, so they are being sent off as we get them to the lab for testing. I am starting the data analysis soon, and we hope to find some interesting results in the next coming weeks. What we hope to find is that indeed wolves can locally affect not only the number of ticks, but also the prevalence of Borrelia, which would be a strong argument to promote the conservation of wolves. My name is Nicolas de Pelsmaker. I am originally from Belgium, and I am now a postdoc researcher here at the Mammal Research Institute in Białowieża.